Good evening and welcome. I'm David Morgenstein, past president of the American Statistical Association, and I have the real pleasure and honor of being your host tonight. This would be a good time to silence your cell phones if you haven't already. I have the wonderful privilege of introducing the president of the ASA, Jessica Utts. Many of us are multitaskers, and if you're one of those, while you're listening to me, you may be thinking about one, two, or many other things as well. So I want to invite you for 1 minute to think about nothing other than the career that I'm about to describe to you. Jessica has served the ASA at every level throughout her career. She was president of what was then called the State College Chapter of ASA. She's been a section officer and chair of the Statistical Education Section. She represented the sections as a member of the ASA Board of Directors. She was a member of the ASA's Strategic Planning Committee, developing a plan that continues to serve the association well. And she's been an associate editor of the American Statistician and the Journal of the American Statistical Association. Jessica's leadership of the profession extends well beyond the ASA. She's held for many years leading roles in Section U, the statistics section of the AAAS. She's been an officer of the Institute of Mathematical Statistics, vice president of the International Association for Statistical Education, chair of the Consortium for the Advancement of Undergraduate Statistics, president of the Caucus for Women in Statistics, chair of the Committee of Presidents of Statistical Societies, and president of the Western North American region of the International Biometric Society. Her service and leadership have been widely recognized. She's the recipient of the Distinguished Service Award of the National Institute of Statistical Sciences, and she received the Harry C. Carver Medal from the IMS in recognition of distinguished service. In 2009, she received the ASA's Founder Award, the highest recognition of service our society bestows. Jessica is a tireless advocate for good statistics education and sound practice, illustrated here by a t-shirt she created nearly 30 years ago. Note the date, 1988. It is with honor and affection that I introduce our 111th president, Dr. Jessica Utts.
Wow, thank you. That's going to be a hard act to follow. And you'll have to forgive me, I'm not used to reading speeches, which is what I'm doing here tonight. So hopefully this will go well. I'm used to talking through PowerPoints like most of us are. So thank you all for coming. I really appreciate that you're here. I know some of you are here to watch your loved one receive the fellow, but you got to listen to me first. So here we go. To help address our challenge, I offer a quote from the book Concepts and Controversies, authored by another of my favorite statistical thinkers, David Moore. Data beat anecdotes. This quote is repeated in the college version of the ASA's Guideline for Assessment and Instruction in Statistics Education, better known by its acronym GAZE, as something that we hope students will believe and understand after taking a statistics course. But I would like to question whether anyone actually lives under the guiding principle that data beat anecdotes. I certainly have not seen much evidence of that. Even a cursory knowledge of what's happening in politics should convince us that anecdotes often beat data, and powerfully so. I can provide a more concrete example based on the research I have done in parapsychology. Parapsychology is concerned with the scientific investigation of potential skills that are commonly known as psychic abilities, such as precognition, telepathy, and so on. For many years, I have worked with researchers doing very careful work in this area, including a year that I spent full-time working on a classified project for the United States government to see if we could use these abilities for intelligence gathering during the Cold War. This 20-year project is described in a recent book by physicist Edwin May, the lead scientist on the project, with input from his Soviet counterparts. At the end of that project, I wrote a report for Congress stating what I still think is true. The data in support of precognition and possibly other related phenomena is quite strong statistically and would be widely accepted if it pertained to something more mundane. Yet, most scientists reject the possible reality of these abilities without ever looking at data. And on the other extreme, there are true believers who base their beliefs solely on anecdotes and personal experience. I have asked the debunkers if there's any amount of data that could convince them, and they generally have responded by saying, probably not. I ask them what original research they have read, and they mostly admit that they haven't read any. Now, there is a definition of a pseudoscientist, basing conclusions on belief rather than data. When I've given talks on this topic to audiences of statisticians, I show lots of data. Then I ask the audience, which would be more convincing to you, lots more data or one strong personal experience? And guess what? Almost without fail, the response is one strong personal experience. Of course, I'm giving you an extreme example, and I think people are justifiably skeptical because most people think that these abilities contradict what we know about science. They don't, but that's the topic of another talk.